Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendation video. And this is one that I was going through my video recommendation form, which is what I check whenever I'm stumped about which videos you guys might want to see. And I saw this one pop up and I was like, surely I've made this video. Like, this is one of my favorite things. And guess what? Fated mates. I have not made specifically a fated mate video. I mean, I've made paranormal and fantasy, and a lot of times those tropes go in with it, so I just like assumed, but I haven't made one that is on my channel that is specifically just fated mates. So that's what we're gonna do today. If you don't know what a fated mate is, just in case, it is when there are two people that are actually meant to be together, and in this case, we're talking about magically. Like, magically, they are linked. Their souls are supposed to be together. They are either fated because they will be the best genetic chance to make future offspring, or there's some cosmic reason that they're together, or fate has chosen it. That's what the fated mate part means. And some of these people fight against such thing. In fact, most of the time, that's going to be what we're dealing with. And I do have one fan fiction that I've included in here that is a different kind of like magical, like it's more like magical, like best chance, and we'll get there when we get there. I wanted to include it because I want to include some of my beautiful fan fictions that I own because I have some lovely physical copies to show. But yeah, we're going to go through this. So we're going to start with some of the ones that probably show up on everyone's video. So I won't talk in depth about them, but then we'll get into some that maybe you didn't know about or some you can check out just because you want to read more of this. Because, yeah, I absolutely adore this trope. And when it shows up in fantasy or paranormal, I'm just tickled, okay? I love it, okay? Because the thing is no matter how diametrically opposed these two are, we know it's going to work out because it's a romance and they're fated mates. So it's going to happen. And I love it. So we're going to start with the person that I personally believe writes the best fated mates, because that thing I just said about two people being diametrically opposed, she writes that so well. In the beginning of each of her books, when she sets up the hero and the heroine of her book, I'm like, wow, these people are so different. How's this going to work? How's she going to make this work? And then she does. And I believe it. And I think that that is a skill that is unmatched. And that's Kresley Cole. So I, of course, have the first book in the series. There is actually a 0.5 that you can read if you want. But this is the OG, A Hunger Like No Other. This is a werewolf like a king who has been trapped underneath a city, tied up. And when he feels his mate, he chews off his own foot to escape and find his mate, only to his horror to find that his tiny little mate, Emmeline, is a half Valkyrie, half vampire, and he is an enemy to both of those breeds of people, of creatures. And so he doesn't exactly act with grace and dignity in the beginning, but this is the beginning of an amazing story. And I think that even people who say this doesn't hold up because of consent things, I think that Kresley Cole from the beginning was always keeping an eye towards that. Because yeah, there are a lot of non-consensual things that happen in her books, but they're never done without care, and they're never done by accident. Kresley Cole is very aware of every step that she takes. So I have many books in this series that I love, but my very, very favorite and one that is very precious to my heart is Lothair. This was one of my favorite books of 2020, and I actually reread it this year and annotated it just for myself. This wasn't for anyone else. It was just for me, and it was one of the best experiences that I had. I love it so much, and even when I started, I've read this book 4 or 5 times by now. I started again, and I'm like, how am I gonna like Lothair? How am I gonna like him? And damn it, the enemy of old wins me over every time, and him and his little hillbilly mate, they really work for me. So I highly recommend this series. I don't recommend you start with Lothair. I really, really don't. You don't necessarily have to start with this one. Any of the first 4 books all take place at the same time, so you can look over those first 4 and see which ones you love. I personally really like book 4 in the series, but after book 4 you should read them in order. But you technically could read any of the first 4 books in any order you wanted to, because they're overlapping story times. Will you probably get the best idea of it if you read in order? Yes, because that's the order that Kresley wrote it, but we say that. Then I, of course, want to mention ShayaLonnie Singh. This is my favorite book by her. This is book 10 in the series. You should start with Slave to Sensation, which is also beautiful, but this is the Psy Changeling series, and there are Psy who are supposed to be these emotionless beings that have these like different powers, and to make sure that their power isn't used for evil, they are supposed to remain emotionless and have done this thing called the silence. Let's just say that the silence isn't as good as it makes it seem, you know, and you can still become an evil killer when you don't have emotions or passions or things. And then there are the changelings, which are different breeds of different beings that can turn into different animals. And in this one, we have Hawk, who is the leader of the Snow Dancer wolf pack. And this one is between him and Sienna Lauren. And these two are so in love. And you should start with Slave to Sensation as well. But again, I'm holding up my favorite book in the series. And all of these fated mates are amazing. I just love it so much. And then, what's another series people always mention? There are so many more, honestly. There's also Sherilyn Kenyon has lots of fated mates. Christine Feehan has fated mates. I used to be addicted to those as a kid. They were some of my first fated mates that I read. I don't like remember the stories well enough to have wrecked them in this video, but those are all some that have it. Those series are really my like blooding ground for fated mates back then, which is amazing. Then we have a series that I just recently started reading. It was brought to my attention by Crystal from Crystal's Bookish Life, and then I always had it in the back of my mind. One of my friends actually gifted me a copy of the first one, and so I finally listened to this in November, and I listened to all the books that were currently out and available, and now I'm caught up, and the newest book just came out. But all of these are fated mates. They are between these human women who have somehow time traveled. They have been put into this stasis, and now they're waking up and the world is completely different than when they went to sleep, and they are fated mates to these kinds of fae. And the fae can like change into different beings. So there's like wolves, and there's vampires, and there are fae. And I've loved them all. So these are the first two, The Longing of Lone Wolves, and this one is The Solace of Sharp Claws. And like I said, I've read through the entire first 7 that are out, and book 8 was just released, but I haven't read it yet. And I want to very soon. So I very much enjoy these, and this is definitely one that it has some elements of Kresley Cole for me because of how opposite the fated mates are and how much they don't want it to be a thing that they're together. So there is Feral Sins by Suzanne Wright. What's great is this series is part of KU Read and Listen. So if you download the book, you get the audiobook with it, which is really great. This is the first book in the Phoenix Pack series, and this one was great because these two actually try to pretend to be fated mates, so it's like a fake fated mate dating scenario, you know, instead of like fake dating, they like fake mate. But the thing is, their wolves are like, no, we're actually mates. And they're like, no, this was supposed to be fake. And their wolves are like, no, we're actually mates. And I love this. The heroine's actually an alpha female, but she has a latent gene. So she actually can't turn into her wolf, but she's still an alpha female, which makes it very dangerous because if she's ever challenged by other females, even though her wolf inside is an alpha, she can't physically fight the way that an alpha female could. And so it's seen her very much like ridiculed and mistreated. And the reason why she agrees to enter into this like fake mating scenario is that her father's trying to force her into an arranged mating with someone else. And she doesn't want to do that. And so she agrees to join into this fake mating with, I think Trey is the name of the hero in this one. And so that begins. And Trey is the alpha of a pack that is kind of a pack that is small, and they kind of broken away from another pack, and so they need this alliance. So that's how that goes. So yeah, this was really fun. This series did start to get kind of repetitive by the end of the series for me, but the first 4 books in this series very much like were great for me. And I love the dominance and sexy scenarios in this, as well as their animals. Like, I love when shifters have very like rich relationship with their animal. I really like that a lot. Then there is His Saving Grace by Kylie Gopal. This is one of 2 rejected mate books that I have on this list, because in this one, the heroine, her mate actually dies when she is young. She knew who her mate was. They weren't fully together yet because she was still growing up, and he was killed, and it's horrible. And then our hero, he is a single dad, and he's the alpha of another pack, and he's going to be having a have a peace treaty with her pack. And when he goes there and he realizes she is his fated mate, he has actually lost his mate, not in the way you'd think. I won't spoil what happened with that, but to be rejected by your mate can cause you to go crazy. And so when he finds this woman who she does not want to have another mate, she feels like she's betraying her mate who died if she has another mate, even though fate has decreed that she be mated with this man, she doesn't want to. And he's like, well, guess what? I'm not going to sign this peace treaty if you don't come and live with me. You don't have to mate with me officially, but you also can't reject this. And if you try to reject this, things are going to go badly. So she's kind of blackmailed into it. But when she gets there and she meets his daughter and meets his pack, she very quickly realizes how much she is fitting in with these people. And she doesn't like it. She doesn't want it to happen. But I really love how he wins her over and how these two come together. It made me so happy. Now, I don't know when the author's putting out more books in the series. This one did have an HEA for this couple, but there's definitely other stuff set up, and I have heard no word. This is this author's debut book, and I have no idea when or if they're writing another one. But again, you could read this and you'll get an HEA, and maybe if more people read this author will continue this series. But my friend Daniela is actually the one who recommended this. I actually annotated this for her, and without her having read it before. And I really, really enjoyed this book. So I highly recommend it. And again, maybe reading it will get this author to get this next book out. So help me out, everybody. Then the other rejected mate one I want to mention is The Lone Wolf's Rejected Mate by Kate C. Wells. This one is actually book 3 in the series, but it's my favorite one, and it just released the end of December. So that's why I'm recommending it. You can read the other 2 before this, you absolutely can, but I think you could read this one as a standalone because anything you need to know is kind of shared before. But this one is about Dara, who he is a lone wolf. He brings in his tributes to the pack every once in a while, like he does hunting and he brings it in, but he'd actually rejected his mate and we don't know why. We also don't know why he's a lone wolf or what happened, but his mate is very upset with him because of that rejection, and she just feels like, why am I not good enough for you? And there's something that Kate C. Wells can do where she can make you feel so much in the despair, and like, I'm never going to forgive this hero for what he's done. And then when I found out why this hero had done this, I instantly was like, oh my God, my poor baby. And I really like this. This was 5 stars. It's my favorite one she's written. Highly recommend. Then I'm going to do it, y'all. I'm going to do it. One of my favorite fated mates of all time, the ACOTAR series. Yes, I'm holding up the second one because this is the one where we have fated mates fully introduced, but there are more than just Reese and Feyre who are fated mates in this series. There are other ones for something that is super rare. Of course, then when we have a series about it, everybody starts having a mate. These are my beautiful covers from the Dusty Bookshop. You can check them out. They do restocks of these every couple months. These are my favorite covers of these, even more so than like the Illumicray ones were. I love these. Look at the inner circle. Guys, this is great. But there are still plenty of people who haven't read this book and don't know about how the Fated Mates comes about or what's going on. So when you read ACOTAR and you're like, who the fuck is this Tamlin dude? Just hold on. Just hold on. And you'll get to A Court of Mist and Fury. But I put it in there because it's my video and I can. Then we have The Fae King's Curse by Jamie Schlosser. You actually can read Between Dawn and Dusk first. It is about the parents of the hero in this book. So if you'd like to know how the Fae King was cursed, you can do that. I think the novella is free, or else it's 99 cents, but it explains how this curse gets put on, because our hero in the Fae King's curse is actually blind. And the only way that he will get his sight is when he mates with his true mate, when they have sex for the first time and bind their souls together. But here's the thing. The way, if he sleeps with the wrong person, he will be blind forever. And the way that Fae know their fated mate is by looking into their eyes. That's how they confirm it before they have sex. So he's in a pickle. That's why this curse is a bad one. And all of the kings of the land are cursed where their sons will be born with this curse. So this whole series has heroes who are born blind. Now they're Fae, so they usually have other powers that help them be able to navigate and get around. But it is really interesting when disabilities are worked into fantasy worlds. I really like that. But in this one, we have our heroine who's in the human world, and our hero, when he's a little boy, is actually able to come through to the human world, and they meet. The thing is, every day on Earth is a year in fairy. And so by the end of the week of him coming to see her every week, he's already an adult. And so he very much he has a gut instinct that she's his fated mate, but she is a teenager. She's 13. They meet when they're the same age. He goes there for his birthday, and what he asked for his birthday is a portal to the human world, and he meets his mate. But then he has to wait, and he has to wait and wait and wait until his mate is 18 and is old enough for him to claim her. And if you did the math, even just quickly, you'll realize that he waits hundreds and hundreds of years to have his fated mate. It's kind of amazing and beautiful. So there we go. All right, then I will just mention real quickly the Ice Planet Barbarians. Those have fated mates. The Kui knows when the mates are found. You'll probably know about Ice Planet Barbarians, but maybe you didn't know that most of the audios for that are on Anyplay, so you can check that out there. But these are some human women who were kidnapped by other aliens and then end up stranded on a planet where there are these blue alien men, big blue aliens with tails and horns and big dicks, and they're furry, and they start realizing that these humans are their mates. So that is a very, very basic description of that for sure. And then this is where I want to share a fanfic with you that, like I said, doesn't quite fit fated mates the same way, but I think it does, and I'm going to explain myself. And that is Safe Word is Devil Snare by ShayaLonnie. This is a Neville and Hermione fanfiction. It is free on AO3. I'll leave the link down below. This is my beautiful copy that my friend Mel made for me. Because she is freaking amazing. You will not just be able to go find a physical copy of this, but you can read it for free by getting it from AO3. But this, we are at a time, it's been so many years after Voldemort, and the magical population is stressed. And Hermione finds the answer. So the Wizengamot threatens a marriage law unless a temporary procreation bill can make everybody see reason. And so for Hermione, what this means is that, like, everybody in her year at Hogwarts kind of shows up at this. They volunteer. They're voluntold to do this. And there's the spell that gets put out, and it shows you who your best match is. So the brighter the person glows, the better your match. And what's cool in this one is that her and Harry actually have some glow, but she's like, oh, it'd be like sleeping with my brother. Her and Draco have some glow, and she's like, oh, but we're not ready for that. And then Neville shows up late, and he's the brightest of everyone. And so her and Neville are meant to be a match. So this one, I call it, they're kind of like, they're soulmates. Also, Neville is a bit kinky, and so he has to kind of break the news to her that he likes to tie some ladies up, and she's like, oof, I don't know if I'd like that. And he's like, let's try it. And they do, and it's amazing. It's great. And then I would be remiss, I would be absolutely foolish if I didn't mention the Stay a Spell series by Julia Cross. I won't go into heavy detail since I do in so many videos, but this is the first one, Wolf Gone Wild. This is a werewolf named Mateo and a witch named Evie, and she needs to help him with a hex that's been put on him. And also, they might just be fated mates. Spoiler alert, yes they are, because that's the video. That's the video. So if you didn't need another reason to read Juliet Cross, here it is. It's fated mates. It's wonderful. It's nerdy. It's sexy. It's meant to be. Okay, it needs to happen. So there you go. There was a quick little suggestion of some of my favorite books with fated mate. Again, there are a ton of these, but I can't believe I had to make a video about this. I do have some other paranormal rec videos that I will link up here if you want to check those out. If you made it this far, give me a little wolfie down below. Give me a little pup down there to show that you made it to the end. Make sure you've liked this video and you're subscribed to my channel. I have a playlist with over 200 recommendation videos. I also have a playlist that is all kinky and taboo recommendations. If you like to get a little bit crazy, check those out. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.